Okay, let me go now to 35.2 and take out, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, the line, legal consciousness means how legality is experienced and understood, how it and its meanings are avoided, engaged, or resisted. Now, for me, this is an odd definition of consciousness. Consciousness to me is a psychological term, basically inside the body. But they've expanded it quite a bit here. They say it's how any feeling of the legal or the law, whatever that might mean, however that is experienced, perceived, understood, how you become aware of it. But not only that, but then what you do with it. How do you avoid those meanings, such as bad mother or bad father? How do you engage it or resist it? So for them, legal consciousness is perception and action. At least to me, I think of it a little easier like that. I don't know that that's the usual way people understand consciousness. It's somewhat phenomenological, but even then, they're a little bit outside of that. Now, what I'd like to do is talk about the next two sections, legal consciousness as attitude and the infamous legal consciousness as epiphenomena. So, legal consciousness as attitude is just the idea that inside each of us is a self that reasons and desires. If you have looked at the theory lectures, if I've provided those, then if you look at rational choice theory, that's sort of the basis of this. That self that reasons and desires is the foundation of everything that you do. You act because you look at a situation, you think about either how it benefits you, what the costs are, or you think about pleasure and pain, or you think about just what you want, for whatever reason you desire. And then you act based on those things. And then larger social systems are sort of the buildup of how everybody acts, given their reasoning and desires. Now, that should sound pretty close to what Ewick and Sibley are suggesting their idea of legal consciousness is, but it is not. For Ewick and Sibley, it is the action, and I would argue the interaction between people, that is the foundation of the law, and not their attitudes as the foundation. So here's why that matters. If you think about this in three sort of separate spheres, one would be like a structural thing like that, like the government, where you can think about it, but it's hard to know where to go to touch it. You can go to D.C., but it's really a bigger thing than that. It's not like you can touch the Lincoln Memorial and feel the government, or touch the Supreme Court even and feel it. So taking that as sort of a structural world, and then talk about maybe a psychological world or an individual world inside the person. I would say that the legal consciousness as attitude sees the foundation of everything as the individual and inside the person, and that our interactions and the larger structures of the world are founded on that. If we now move to the phrase legal consciousness as epiphenomena, what they're really talking about are more structural explanations. And if you look at the theoretical stuff, you'll see that some of the functionalist stuff would be here, certainly, and a lot of the Marxist stuff would be here. And I'll simplify both of those, in effect, by saying for the sort of Marxist viewpoint, your economic situation is going to determine both what you do, so it's going to determine your interactions, and it's going to determine what you think, feel, desire, and reason, and perceive. So your attitudes as well. All of that is built from your economic situation. The functionalist thing is a lot more common in the United States. It's basically got a mechanism called socialization, which tells you how to act with each other and what you should want and the means that you should go through to get it. And so both of those see sort of the structural level determining the interactional level and the attitudinal level. So now 3 levels, 3 ways to see a foundation for the law. You can see it in larger structures, economic, political, cultural structures. Or you can see it in attitudes, desires, and reasons. That would be an individual foundation. What Ewick and Sibley are trying to do is they're trying to discuss a interactional foundation, although they still keep a lot of the psychological parts there too. But in the interactional thing, it's how we interact with each other that would determine what we perceive, how we see things inside, and would also determine the larger social structures. And so those are the three foundations that you get from sociological studies of the law. And everything you find as sort of academic work can be put into one of those three things. But not only that, when you read things in the newspaper, when you hear talk amongst your friends, you'll also hear people going to those foundations. Each foundation has a different set of assumptions, strengths, weaknesses, things it allows you to see, but as it allows you to see those things, other things that get concealed. And so in the last weeks, we're going to try and talk about how each one of these things operates. I'm not going to suggest necessarily that you want one or the other of the theories. What you should be learning how to do is to use each theory to understand things that are going on in the world. That's really the trick here. It's more important than understanding the definitions within the text, following along on the lectures, or staying on task or something like that. You have to be able to use these things that you're learning. You're developing a skill set for later on. That's the idea. So let's see if we can